we go. Hello and welcome to Wow Mom. Today we have a surprise for you. First of all, my co-host is really, really busy. She's getting ready to make a big move. She's Jane Ann Bombrecht, and she's with diamonddozenmom.com. You can catch her on www.diamonddozenmom.com. But today we have my old co-host Marla, and I want to welcome her all the way from Puerto Rico. Hi, Marla. How you doing?
Hi, Ellen. Glad to be back again with a show. It's been a while.
It's been a while. Last time we had a show, it was about our babies. We share a love of our babies that are in heaven, waiting for us to give us a big hug, and we know that they're praying for us. But last time we had a bird arrive on the scene, and I did try to edit. That time we did not edit it, so it was really a surprise. We felt like it was the show was just pretty well done until the bird came on, and we were like, okay, we keep the bird. But this time we're going to talk about because Marla lives in Puerto Rico and we don't know a lot about it, what's going on there, and our country's in such upheaval that we're going to have her talk a little about these questions I wrote. Now, Marla, on my show, as you know, I write the questions, I send the show notes, and I type with one finger, and then we don't hardly look at the sheet. So today I'm going to read your bio because this is what Jan does best. This is not my forte. So Marla, meet Marla. It's Marla Mendez, and you say your last name again, Sylvie. How do you say your last name?
Silvagnoli.
See, that's what I was going to say. And she is at professional level. She is an educator, a professor. I always call her Professor Mendez, and she's with science and math in different institutions. She's instructing in the Department of Natural Science and the Director of Activities of the title VPA-PAS project. I can't even say it. The Pontifical Catholic College of Puerto Rico, right? Catholic University of Puerto Rico.
Mhm.
And on the personal level, she's a wife and a doting mother of three. The youngest of them is Christopher, who died at 37 weeks gestation in 2014. And this experience has changed her and motivated her to share her experience in a book, which she wrote and participated in various interactive um, mentoring and awareness groups about grieving. And she's an expert, I'm sure by now, want to hear all the tips. And she process of when you face a pregnancy, you get so excited that your baby's coming, and then the last thing you think is that your baby will be taken way too soon. So she has to talk a little bit about what she's doing in that area to help other parents, and she collaborates with parents on a professional level in a nonprofit organization and develops what is now the law 184 of 2016, the law for the establishment and the preparation of uniform protocol to implement in hospitals and health institutions for the management of loss of an early pregnancy and fetal death, neonatal death. In addition, she's the leader of Puerto Rico chapter of Tears. Wow, Marla, you do so many things. Foundation and facilitator of the support groups helping other people. And I can't pronounce it in Spanish. Say it in Spanish for us. Transforming pain.
Transformando el dolor.
I so love that. Tell us a little bit about that. We'll start with that. Tell us what those two
Okay.
things. I mean, you wrote the
Yeah.
book and then you do. I mean, you started Tears and the organization for you put in a law in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, it was a group. We developed first a project. It goes first to it was a long process, but it was approved, and right now we're in the process of the implementation to have the different trainings for hospital personnel on what's on the law. The law basically creates a protocol of options that are offered to families, so they have the opportunity to choose what they would prefer in the case they face, the tragedy of having their child die, either during gestation or afterwards. And that's the law part. The law was approved. The protocol was developed by an interdisciplinary group that included March of Dimes, included nonprofits, included psychologists, social workers, doctors, nurses, and administrative, personnel. And the protocol was developed, and now it's in the process, as I mentioned, of getting the personnel trained on what is in the protocol and the importance of the compassionate care of families during this time.
Because no one can heal your heart but God. We know that. And but you need people that CARE with TIME. They have to care and they have to spend time. It's kind of like that scripture where where Jesus has a man and he can't get to Jesus. He puts them, the friends put him down the roof. It's just not something you, when you're pregnant, you know, you and I know, Marla, when you're pregnant, you go like, wow, this is so great. And you get all excited. And then when it's not expected, and our babies, her baby and mine was a little bit, had some physical trouble, Marley, but your baby was not in physical danger. So that was even harder. My baby had trisomy 18. His name was Zachary Luke John, but he was born like way a long time ago, like 25 years ago. But I still tear up and I still mentor women and help them through the situation. Because don't you know, when you have the blisters and you walk the path, then you're able to carry someone else. So yours was very recently, really within, what year was it again, Marla?
2014, so it's 6 years ago.
6 years ago. And Marla did this. She had a trial that hit her, and then she turned it into helping others. That's what Scripture says to do. So tell a little about tears, because I so have tears. Before, I don't remember I ever cried as much as I did when Zachary died. I don't think I ever did, even with parents dying or just disappointment in life or loneliness. I don't think I ever did. It was something that was not even, I couldn't even recognize myself. Really, I couldn't. So what is Tears like? What is Tears, the organization?
Oh yeah, the Tears Foundation mission is to compassionately support families, either financially and emotionally through to initially pregnancy and infant loss. It started in 2002. It was founded by Sarah Slack after the death of her son Jesse Curtis, and then it started in Washington State, and then it grew, and now there's chapters in, and there's over 28 chapters that range in different states, and now there's international chapters. Besides, we have the different states. We have Puerto Rico, and then we have 4 international chapters. There's one in Guatemala, one in Bahamas, Uganda, and Kenya. And each chapter has a different approach. There are chapters that also support loss of children at a later age. There are different programs in our chapter right now. Our chapter started around 2014, but I started being the leader of the chapter last year. Oh,
There,
and it's, yeah, excuse me, yeah,
I so understand.
there's always something unexpected when we are
It's
sharing.
unexpected. I like this disappointment, God's appointment, but good surprises, I'm all for them. Okay, so
Yeah.
you started. You're the head of the chapter. Tears. You got
Yeah, last year I started with the chapter, and before I started being the leader of the chapter, we had started a support group for families. We had like a collaboration with a group of obstetricians and gynecologists, and we offered that support group face to face in their office. Then when I started with Tears, then we kind of, I received their training, and then we started following their philosophy. And so we started with 3 years, the support group, last summer. And right now, due to COVID, we're doing Zoom meetings every month. We hold meetings the second Friday of the month, and we have support group for families, mainly parents.
Wow. And so Marla, do they does it, is it open to people that have lost a child as well as lost a baby or miscarried? It's like a, let's
Depending
say,
on the chapter,
adult
they do.
child.
Right now, our chapter is focused on pregnancy and infant loss, usually till 1 year old.
Okay.
But it doesn't mean that, we individually do not support people that might need help in other types of losses. Actually, yesterday I collaborated with one of the Tears committee members in a webinar regarding the loss of a child, and it included um, like sons or daughters from pregnancy on till adulthood. So we
Wow.
we talk about that. So we collaborate in other things, but the chapter, mainly like the support group, is geared towards pregnancy and infant loss. Right now, we might expand other support options, but for now, that's our main goal.
I'm gonna look into. Please send me information. I'm not making it up. I do like to know more about that. I feel like sometimes in life there seems like no answer, and then you meet one person and you share that bond. It's the people that make the difference in a trial. Now, when it's new, Marla, let's face it, on the initial shock of losing a child, no matter if it's an adult, a baby, or a miscarriage, nothing people say helps. It doesn't help. It doesn't help me. It didn't help other people that have lost. But you eventually get to a place where your ears are open to take a hug maybe, or listen a little bit longer and see that people do care. Unless you walked a mile in their shoes, you don't really know what it's like. So probably the worst thing to say is this: I know how you feel, or you have other children, or the worst thing to say is like to say anything. Sometimes it's just like at me with the big mouth. But you give a hug and you try to listen between the lines. If they A lot of times they'll lash out at people because they're just wounded. They're upset about what happened. But Christopher, I don't know Christopher, but I'm going to meet him in heaven, and you're going to meet Zachary. And I just love to see the butterflies in the background there. In the background of mine is all my children. Marla, you haven't met them, but Marla and I did radio so long together. I think almost 2 years on and off. I kept going back and going on, and we had such a fun time on the air because we felt like we were making a difference. We had different co-hosts with us. One time we had a gal named, I can't remember, Danielle, and she wrote a book as well. And she wrote an interesting book. She didn't tell us the whole time she was co-hosting. And then one day she shared she had adopted her child. And when you adopt a child, especially when you can't have children, that child grows in your heart. It becomes part of you before you even get that baby. You pray, please, Lord, pick the right baby for me. Adopt. We had a Marla and I had a gal on our show named Joanna. I always share about her because I thought it was a phenomenal show. Joanna and her husband. And I don't know if you know the finish of the story, you probably do, but she wanted to adopt a baby and did. After that, she wanted to have a baby and didn't get a baby, and she adopted. And then just before Christmas, they didn't give her the baby. The baby was born, they kept it. And then got a different baby, and then she got pregnant. So she ended up, first we met her, she had one child that was on air with her, gosh, sitting here, and then she ended up with a house full. God is full of surprises. We have to put our heart towards him and ask him. He wants to know what we need. He wants you to ask, Marla. Don't you think? You say, I'm sad today. Can you send a blessing? Or I just need a friend today. Or he will listen to you. I am intrigued this week, Marla. I've been thinking a lot about the Blessed Mother. And I find that, I just am intrigued by the fact because I had a great mother-in-law and a great mom, and Jesus was at that cross, and he had three people. He had Mary, and he had Mary, and he had his best friend John. Now he is the one suffering. When you're suffering, that's all I can do is make one foot go before the other and not even speak sometimes. I can't even smile, and I'm a smiler. But he had the love of his mother, the agape love that he shine on all of us, to say, John, behold your mother. He was going to take care of his mother by giving him to his best friend. And then he said to Mary, Mary, behold your son, because he wanted Mary to have like family. Joseph had passed away, Jesus was leaving, and at that moment of suffering, now I'm not that good. When I was suffering, I don't know if I put my clothes on. I had pajamas on. I was just like tears flowing, Kleenex on my nose. Suffering is not something you can just go, it's not a big deal. There's a magic wand. Now you prayed and I'm good. It's not like that. We're real people with real hearts, and we're human beings. And we can't just go, okay, now I'm better, especially if we're suffering pain or suffering emotional pain. So what do you want to address to the people out there who maybe today they're listening, they see the show is about, we're going to tell the show according to what we said, because we go on the show without knowing what we're going to say. And then what would you want to address right now? Because maybe there's someone listening that really has recently lost a baby or a miscarriage. That's just, that's hard for women as well. What do you want to say to them?
As you mentioned, there are no words, that are enough to reach that deepness of despair. But I think something that helps people that are in those shoes is that they're not alone. Even though each one of us has a different story and different situations, there are many of us that have gone through the pain of losing a child, and are and might be um, the people that can be open to listening. And I think that's something that at first, that's the only thing we need at first, is just to be listened, or to be able to express in a way we feel best, whatever we're feeling, and get all those thoughts and feelings out of our heart and our mind. And I think finding that way in which they can express what they feel is the most healthy thing they can do. Bottling up can be really making things more difficult than they already are. So just be able to find a place and a way in which you can express what you feel and how you feel with someone that will not offer judgment and will not try to lessen your pain, just to recognize the deepness of your pain and to respect uh, your feelings and that you have the right to feel how you feel and express how you need what you feel.
But Marla, there's never a good time for a bad thing to happen. But this morning I oh, I internet with so many different people on Facebook or LinkedIn, and I do. And so today I found one lady, a friend of one of my daughters, shared to pray because this teenagers right now are, I know don't have teenagers yet. Do you, Marla, or you do? Are you okay? How
I
old are they?
have I have a teenager. Yeah, she's 13, turns 14 on
Cool,
November.
cool.
Hmm.
There's a lot like we're around the country. There's a lot with suicide, and sometimes Pat and I just talked on our show. We were doing Deacon and Deer earlier, and people don't notice it coming. And we were trying to give tips like it, but she was said for prayer because two people she knew in this week have committed suicide, and so that's a loss that if you don't, especially if you don't see it coming. Some people would say to me, well, they were like wanted to say this about it was just a baby or just a miscarriage. No, any loss is a big deal to me. I'm like, okay, I don't understand that comment because they possibly didn't know that that's just a wound to the heart, like a knife going right in. But for people that have lost an adult child, I don't even know what to say because I haven't gone that route. But I really want to speak life right now, Marla, to parents to be so aware of your children. We don't want our children to be lost in the air of like, we don't get to love them, hug them, be with them. But how do you find the signs? They do have signs. There's signs showing you're in the world of academia and you see college students. What would you say to them to look for? Because it's usually around the high school or college age that they have things pop up.
Yeah, I think well, I'm not specialist in that area. I'll say that first. But yeah, from what I've read and experiences some people have shared, there are some potential signs, and it's, I think, one of the most important things, I guess, even though if there were signs, if this happens, I think you have to be careful not to blame yourself for what happened, because people make their choices. Even though we might um, teach our children a way and how to try to deal with situations, and we try to be there for them and be there to listen, we might miss something, or they might not want to share something with us. They might share with a friend maybe, and maybe we don't get that information. So maybe there might be signs but we might not see them, and we shouldn't blame ourselves for what happened, and just try to be there for them and try to know their friends, and have their friends also trust us. So if they see something that's amiss, they might be have the trust to be able to tell us and let us know, so we can help them
Mhm.
before something happens. And if something does happen, just rest assured that you did the best you could with the information that you had. Sometimes we don't get all the information. They might not share everything, that we know that when we were teenagers, there are some things we wouldn't share with our parents,
I thought it
and
was
then
just
we would
like,
hide from them. So they do the same, and now we have different ways in which to communicate that might be harder to know something's going on. They might communicate through text, and we don't get to see, listen to anything that's amiss. And so that might make things harder. There are different ways in which they can be sharing with other people, or learning other things that might not be go with what we would want for them for their lives. So I think, yeah, it's a very difficult situation, and I think the most important thing is to, if there's some, if you see something amiss with your child, just get them help, and for the whole family as well. And if something happens, I would definitely advise professional help. And do not feel ashamed to need help when when you face um, unspeakable tragedy. The best thing you can do is find people that can help you get out of the darkness, and pray for you, and listen, and be able to not judge you, and be there for you. I think that would be the only thing I could tell them.
I appreciate that, Marla, so much. They always say, moms have eyes behind their head. When they're little, you're like, okay, I saw you steal that cookie. I have eyes behind my head. When you're a mom of adult children or even teenagers or college age, you have to have eyes in your heart. You have to see with your heart. You can't just listen to the words. They may be going, I hate you, mom. Or they're really saying, let's go out and get some ice cream together. Let's spend quality time. Let's spend time with just you and me, mom, and not all the other siblings. They're crying out. Now, those are signs. They may decide to paint their hair green. People do that. Even adults nowadays are purple. And I go, whoa, I like purple, but I'm going to still keep my blonde hair, Marla. And they may be saying signs you're not seeing them. Ask God to open the eyes of your heart and let you see with eyes that are hidden on the inside of their heart. Look at their eyes. I tell my people all the time, I like to look at your face when you speak because I'm looking at the eyes. I've seen, are they being honest? Are they, a mom can tell, so to beware, y'all. We have eyes in our heart and we want to love. Pat and I talked a lot, Marla, about loving in a family. You got a wayward child, and everyone has one of those or two or three, and they come back, they come running back, and you want to be able to embrace that child. You don't want to be the mom or the dad that goes, I told you so. These are things that start wounding the heart. I talk a lot about heart wounds, Marla. I have no expertise in that area, just that I'm old. I'm 67 years old, and I feel like the wisdom comes with the gray hair. See, so like I hide it, but in reality, I have some wisdom. And I always say to people that if they have it in their head, like when our babies first died, it was like sad and it's in your head. But as soon as the wound goes to your heart, well, then Jesus has to heal that wound. You're not a heart surgeon. And I believe in the Adoration Chapel. It's one of my favorite places to hide, you know, hide my heart and expose it to Jesus alone and say, here, Lord, take my heart. It's wounded. I need the balm of Gideon to put on my heart and cover it with your blood, please. And it isn't all at once. Do you think, Marla, when you get a wounded heart, if it's a baby loss, a job, a divorce, whatever it is, you can't just go, now I'm good, like we talked about earlier. It takes a journey, and the journey has to be done with an accompaniment. Even Moses, he couldn't lift his hands up for so long. After a while, he said, please, Joshua and Caleb, would you take one side each? Prayer does heal. I'm not going to discount prayer. I am a big prayer. I'm up all the night sometimes praying for a wayward child, praying for a newborn baby to be birthed, whatever it is. I'm a mom. I got to pray. But then there's more to it than that. It's the journey that you take. Those people, Marla, that take the journey with you, right? You never forget them. Do you ever forget the people? I never forget.
Never.
It's not that I memorize. You did this, check. You did that. I never forget the ones that held my one arm and my other up in prayer. I never forget the ones that took down the baby's nursery, returned the presents. I'm sorry, you never forget those people. I write for a lot of places, Marla. I write for Catholic Mom, the Woman of Grace, Augusta Chronicle. I write my own things. And this week, I don't know why, on my heart, I feel like I need to write an article about three friends named Sue, three friends, all named Sue, in my early days in Christian community. Read the article at the time, Woman of Grace. I don't know what she titled it because I send it in. They change the title sometimes. But it's like, who is Sue to you? So everyone needs a Sue that has to be a Veronica to you to wipe the tears from Jesus' face, that have to be a blessed mother that is a spiritual mother to carry you when you can't walk another step. And the other one was a Barnabas. Even Jesus needed a Barnabas, the one side of the cross, and then he kept falling down. He needed someone to steady him and take the other end. If you have to carry the cross alone, call Marla or I. We'll be there. We know what it's like to carry a cross. Everyone can't do it. Some of your best friends leave you and you feel like, where'd they go? Oh, they were busy. But you don't hold it against them. You're just so grateful that God brings forth the Barnabas you need, the Veronica, or the Mary. And so read the article. I think you'll like it today, especially, but this is the part that was neat. I wrote the article maybe a couple weeks ago, right? I wanted to get it out to Women of Grace. And I was going home to see the family this week. We were in Georgia, and one of the people is Sue Hoyt. She's a good friend of mine, and she ended up being in the hospital. She had almost died. So we were able to visit her. Now she's a Sue that carried the cross for me. She was like the person that was really the other under the cross when I had some trouble after postpartum depression, after having so many children without eating and sleeping. I just bit the dust. And she carried for me, and we were able to visit her, you know what I'm saying? And cheer her up. We don't go to Georgia that often. I hadn't seen her forever. So this is the article, a friend named Sue. And who is Sue to you when you really need someone to care? Well, who is Sue to you? Who was there for you when you had to be, I mean,
I
times in life?
I was blessed to have many when things turned really for the worse. But the first one that arrived there were my family. You know, my husband, my siblings, my mother. They were there um, since the news broke, like that Christopher had died, and they were there through it all. You know, I don't know what I would have done without them. You know, there were my support when everything turned really bad. But then we had many friends and co-workers, even students that really in their way helped me to keep move forward. But the first responders, I would say, were my family,
You
definitely.
need it. And you need it. You do need it. And I think this, Marla, I think that the first weeks, the family is, they come running, but you still need people all along. I think the first year is the hardest year. I'm sorry. It wasn't like good after the first month. I just was not. I had to jump back into life. I had 7 children. He was my eighth baby, Luke, Zachary, Luke, John. And so I wasn't able to just run the race to win. So one of my wise advice to anybody grieving is, you know what? There's no timeline. You don't have to like be done in a week and now I'm not grieving anymore. I'm all good. You could take as long as you want. Now, some people say, well, then it's getting into depression. It may get a little bit, get a little depressed. You lose a child. If you're happy about that, I'm thinking something's wrong with you. The depression is really a real thing. You loved that child, whether it be a newborn or if it be someone that is an adult child that just didn't cry out for help loud enough for someone to hear. And you have to grieve. And grieving, other than that, I like what you said earlier. It steps down and it becomes like a volcano. It comes out and it may come out in anger. It may come out in all different ways. But better to have the grief journey be pace the race and don't race the pace. You can never race the pace and still be good. I watch people. I'm old, so I see a lot of people bury their parents or bury their husbands. And if they're good, I don't question their love. I question that their reality. Are they trying to just, it's gonna be Halloween soon. Am I putting on a mask and I'm just pretending? How are you? I'm good. I tell my son I'm an actress, so I can do that really well. Because you don't really want to let your hair down with like the cleaner. Maybe you had to drop your clothes off and start. Some you do. We know this. Or the grocery clerk and just crying their arms. You want to choose who you're going to be. Reveal yourself too. You don't. We all wear some sort of mask. We don't want to be like a fake around those who really can help take off the mask and say, you know what? Even with your tears, I still love you and I share your burden with you. What do you want to say, Marla?
Oh, I agree. And sometimes we put a mask because we feel no one will understand. Sometimes we put a mask because around us we might receive messages that tell us that we should let go or move on, and then we put a mask so people think we have moved on or have or are when we are better, you know. And it's really a blessing to be able to find people in which we are able to be ourselves without that mask, that we can really say what we feel and express it. And I think that that is essential for the grieving process. You know, you have to in order to heal from a loss, you have to mourn. You have to express your feelings and your thoughts in a way, and some people talk about it, some people write about it, some people might paint or sing or draw, or each one of us grieves in a different way and might mourn in a different way. So basically, I would say it's the importance of being able to find the way in which we mourn and find those people with which we can be ourselves without mask and really be honest and not be judged.
That's very good. And sometimes chocolate. But basically, I don't even like chocolate, but I think when I'm having a bad day, you know what? It sounds good. We don't want to put our life into grieving into food. I'm not trying to make that point be silly, but Marla, I just admire so much that you wrote a book about this, because I'm big like you are about the creative spirit is on the inside. When you're dormant in your life and you take a step back, and we all took a step back during the virus. I call it the staycation of a lifetime, because we took a staycation and we didn't really, in our town, it was, we're here in Vieira, Florida. We weren't able to leave for months. Pat's older, he's 76, I'm 67. We chose to stay back. So what I was going to say is that when we take a step back and we pause in life, our creative side comes out. We begin to write better, draw better. I liked what you said. And we begin to journal, and that gets it out of our heart and into the air. But I like what she did is she wrote a book, and I did not do that. I wrote a book about motherhood, and I was saying there's a chapter in there, Wow Mom, about grieving, losing a child. But in your book, can you tell us a little about your book in case someone would like to know? Because we have a lot of things going around that need to be to help out other people healing.
Yes. Actually, what the book is the journal I kept when everything happened. I started writing when I went out of the hospital. I remember that my sister that stayed with me while I was in the hospital, she asked me what did I need, and I just said I need a notebook. And when I came out of the hospital, my mom bought me a tiny one that was in the hospital store, and I kept it in my purse. And when I left the hospital, I started writing poems. I think that's just what came to me. It was like poems. And the first one was kind of a prayer, and I titled in Spanish in Sueños, which is called In Dreams. And it was kind of like a prayer in which I asked God to let me see my son in my dreams.
Oh,
And afterwards, I just started writing poems. And then one day I started, like I felt that I needed to write the whole story, like since I was pregnant, since I got pregnant, and everything that happened in the hospital. Like I wrote it all. I was like, I couldn't sleep. I was feeling uneasy, so I wrote everything down, and I started to feel better after I did that. And then I kept like kind of a journal, like different days, how I felt, what I thought, and the process of going back to work and all of that. And then I wrote it at the beginning. It was for me, that was my way of expressing what I was feeling. And at first I couldn't talk about it that much. Like I would just cry a lot about it. And then I remember that one day I was reading, I would write and then I would read it again. And I obviously would cry a lot. But then there came a moment when I reread what I had written and I didn't cry anymore. Like I felt like I was reading someone else's story. But then when I read it, I kind of, and with the stories, since what happened, I learned of different stories of coworkers and different people that I've met afterwards, and the some things they share of how they felt so alone, that people didn't understand, that no one knew how they were feeling and what they were thinking. So one day I was reading, and also I shared some of the poems with some coworkers, and they told me, "Have you thought about publishing this?" And I had already thought about that, but I thought that maybe someone that went through something similar might feel less alone by reading it, and maybe people that hadn't gone through this might help them understand how someone that they love that goes through this could feel. So what they should say or shouldn't say, So after thinking it for a while, and then I decided I just basically publish what, the journal. I transcribe it pretty much with very little editing. It was just the raw feelings that I had from those first days. And the things I published was about maybe almost 6 months, maybe. I think the last thing that was published was in January 2015, maybe. I have written more after that, but then that was, the period that was published was pretty much the first 6 months after the loss of Christopher. And it's just pretty honest, whatever I felt and how I felt it, and in the day that I wrote it. So
Wow, I think it's so important. When you write from your soul, I always tell people I write from my soul. I don't write from my head because I write in prayer and in quietness without words. And I begin to write. And sometimes I'm always amazed. I go, that wasn't the way I was going with that. And when it's from your soul, it's tender, it's touching. It's like you can't do it on your own. You need the inspiration of the Holy Spirit. You can't. You sit down and say, I think I'll write a poem about, and you can't. But it comes to you. And that's why she stayed up in the night writing. It was a healing process. Again, a journey, a process. So I just admire that. And I just would you tell, can they reach the book? Is it in some of the bookstores or it's in Spanish?
yeah,
I
it's
know.
in Spanish. Yeah, it's
Okay,
in
it is.
Amazon. It's in Amazon.com. It's called Hasta luego, pequeñín, which is translated loosely as until then, little one, or
Ah, so sweet. And see, it's not like they say, when you have a baby, you always forget the labor. But when you lose a baby, you never forget the little
yeah.
one. You don't forget the little one. It's a part of your bone of your bone and and part of yourself. You begin to plan out what you're gonna do, what you're gonna name the child. See, those who have not lost a child, if you meet someone on the street, I always meet people on the street, Marla. This is who I am. Hello, how you doing? They tell me their whole life story. Don't be too busy to care. It's my big message to the world. Be yourself. Use your gifts for God's glory, but never be too busy to care. We talked earlier in the show about the persons that have taken their life. What if you're passing on the street and their cry for help is like, you're the only one with the eyes of the heart to see them. And you turn a life around for Christ's sake. And you didn't even, when it even happened, had you got really busy and kept on moving by. I think I'm all about that. It's my message to the world. Please care. And there's a book out called Green Light. Now I don't know, I don't keep up with movie stars, but this one movie star, and I can't pronounce his name, Matthew McConaughey, wrote a book called Green Light, and he was on my show. I do care with Kelly Ripa because she's Catholic and she's funny, and so he's talking about his book. He's like you. He wrote journal, right? Journal, and then he put forth all. He found it one day. He's a guy, so he probably like got it. Wasn't in his bedroom. He's reading every night, and he put it together. I think it's a little profound wisdom written from the soul. We have to know that each person we meet is different, and each person we know we can learn something from someone, and they can learn something for us. So I didn't want to like get off the subject when you said you journaled though, and they put it to that's the best way to do it because it's like almost like a surprise, like, did I really write that? No, the Holy Spirit inspired you. But I do believe Marla walks close to the Lord like I do. We're both Catholic girls, just sharing a little wow, woman of wisdom from Titus 2. And Marla, I want to ask you though, because I was so intrigued that we're going to get on together and know about how is it in your I would say your country, because I always think it's not part of the United States, but it is. She assures me. Puerto Rico. If you know history and geography, you would know that. But I want to know about your mama. Can you see her? I know last time we talked, you said that your brother's there near her. And like this is a time that's really hard for me, especially being a mother of 7, not near my kids. When we went through the whole staycation, we just saw them first time for a long time. So how is that going there? Are you all masked up? And it's not Halloween. We wear the mask and all that.
Well, we're supposed to be masked outside of our homes, and we do like we do it. But there are people that either do not mask or have their mask down their below their nose or below
I can relate to
their
that though. I
mouth, which
can
is
relate.
really like not having anything.
If I cough, I go, I
So
don't have
we
disease.
yeah, so at least we've been keeping in our staycation pretty much because I'm high risk and my son too. And so we just go out for uh, really essentials, and but we do at least weekly meeting with my siblings and my mom, and then I do go to get get her something so she doesn't have to go to the store, or my brother does. So we get her groceries and stuff, so she doesn't have to go out because she's also high risk. So
Oh,
try to
oh. And are
keep
you
her
having to
safe.
work from home? Are you working from home, Marla, as well?
Yes, I'm working from home. Yeah.
So that's kind of a different thing too. And then the
Yeah.
children, how are they adjusting the homeschool? I'm so interested. This is a chapter.
Yeah,
We talk a lot of
they
we
are
talk a lot of
taking,
heavy subjects.
yeah, they're taking their classes from home as well. It's been what can I say the word? I'm just we're
LOAC,
totally
long.
overwhelmed,
Oh, yeah,
but we're hanging there. You know, they got their grades recently, and they are doing well. But it's really difficult. But they're really champions. You know, they're really good. They're really good
studious.
spirited, and they like to be at home. That's a good thing. You know, they don't mind that much.
That's a good
They
sign.
like to be at home, and they say they don't want the 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 cafeteria food anymore when they go back.
That's right. That's right.
They prefer our
Oh,
food.
good for, how about this, Gisela? How about the churches? I really am interested in churches. I actually mourned. I mourned. Like I grieved when we weren't receiving the Eucharist. I wept. I mean, real tears. Like I was at the cross of Jesus going, what in the world? We have to have the Eucharist. It's feeding our soul, Lord, please. I was devastated. So how about the church? Can you receive the Eucharist? Are you going to the church so you can? Or,
Yeah, well, there at first there wasn't they weren't allowed to open, like no, nothing more than 10 people in the same place. So a lot of the priests, what they did was do virtual mass, virtual
we did as well.
services. My brother, my oldest brother, is a priest, so he has mass, and he does like his morning prayers. He does them through Facebook,
Oh, wow.
but
That's
then
good.
now they're allowed to open with limited capacity. So they have like the churches that are open to, that are being allowed, because they have to submit, like anyone that opens, even churches, restaurants, or whatnot, they have to have like a a protocol of what they will do. Like they have to take temperature of people, and they have to have masks, and they have to have like hand sanitizer or alcohol to get
Oh,
sanitized and whatnot. So like my brother, at least, and other churches that I know of, have like register, because they have limited
sure.
spaces that are available to be present. So um, pretty much that's what some churches are doing. Or they also have, like, they have a limited amount of masks that are in person and with a limited capacity, and the other services are doing virtually through Facebook or whatnot.
I think we're
Yes.
growing in self-control. I think we're going so I think like now the mothers, they're growing in tears because like I have children and grandchildren I don't get to see, and that's why I was asked about your mama, because when you're a grandma and you don't see your child, your grandchild till like almost a year later, you just don't know that child like you know others. That we went to Maggie, she's 2, and mostly grandmas don't go to a 2-year-old birthday. But we hadn't seen that baby that often. So it's a test of our self-control. I know that God is calling us all to draw closer to Him. And so when you draw close to Him, I can't hear the Lord if I'm talking on the phone. I sometimes can hear Him when we're on the show. I hear Him say something or other, but usually hear Him in the quiet of your heart. You hear Him in the silence. I went on retreat model. I go with my girlfriends. There's 4 of us, and we've been going for 30 years. We call ourselves 4 for the Mountaintop, and I was so looking forward to, because we had to keep postponing the retreat. No, you can't get together. No, the motels aren't open. This town's closed. We finally went. I was all excited, right? Spiritual retreat. And you know what? We couldn't go to mass because we had to watch on the TV, and we watched a Canadian one, which was fabulous, because one sister that we hang with, her husband is, has some limitations on the air physical, and we didn't want to, for fear, go and then expose her, and she has exposure. And I understood. I was first devastated. I thought, no, this is great. I've been with Jesus, me and Pat. We've been in the house for almost a year, just crazy. This is like fun. We went to the beach every day. It actually hailed, but they'll say no, it just rained. We go, this is the Lord, it's hailing. We just took pictures, we laughed out loud. We didn't even leave for the restaurant, because as your kids say, the food is better at home. So they made food. I ate yogurt. I'm not a big eater. So I was like going, it was so fabulous, but we have to make do. Life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. But life gives you disappointment, that's God's appointment. But life gives you grief, you take a pause. You take a pause. You go, okay, I can't breathe through this. You can accept like, okay, we're going to see TV mass. Okay, we don't have the Eucharist right when we want it. Now we appreciate it more. We don't get what we want because we're not two. See, I tell my kids all the time, no one can do what they want unless they're 2 years old. And even at two, I start going, no, sir, you can't do that. So we are learning a lot of self-control. We're growing up as a nation. We're maturing. We're learning to do things a little differently, and we're very creative. And Marla, I just so admire. We're gonna have to close the show, so we could talk forever. And even though you're not as much a talker as me, I can talk forever too. So I thank you. I just want to hear if you have any last words, because we hit a lot of things. We've actually been on the air 47 minutes, which is that's not a record. That probably cut us off Zoom, but I've enjoyed seeing Marla. When you have someone that you don't see a lot, and we've never even met each other in person. This is as close to person we know each other. And so we can't even find each other in the streets, and that's Marla. So we thank the Lord for the Zoom and for also being able to connect on the airways. That's what a lot of people did, Marla, in the during the staycation, which I like to call it. Sounds more positive than like they're making us have time out. So would you like to share anything last minute to sum up the show, and then I'll sum it up? We talked about so many things, but they were all so important.
Yeah, I guess as you said, sometimes life takes unexpected turns, and we have to deal with them and learn. I think one of the things that we learn through this process is what really matters, and really where we put our energy and our life, what we would devote our life to. And yeah, it made us stop and pause, and now sometimes I now work more than it's really like nonstop sometimes. But I know it's difficult finding the balance sometimes, but try to do that. Try to find the balance and center, and really this past years have been really tough here in Puerto Rico. And since I know it was around the time we were in miscarriage marriage. We were hit by two hurricanes, and then it's been from that point forward, it's been one thing after the other. I don't know if you remember the last time before, besides the bird, we had a little earthquake. Last time we
I
I had an interview. I
remember.
was a little scared. I said, what's going to happen this time? We had a little earthquake that time. It was in October, and then last year in December, it started nonstop near the area where I live, like earthquakes going on January, February, and it's been like the earthquakes and then the COVID. Like it was really difficult. It's been a really different year. This year has been uh, it has thrown us all out of our loop, and we could focus on that and only what the hardships that we've gone through. But the truth is that if we just see that part, then we don't see the whole picture. Yeah, there's their hardships, and we shouldn't deny them and or hide them, because they're there. That's what happened. That's what's been happening. That and many things more. This past years, but we also been able to grow individually and collectively, and hopefully that will amount to changes in things that need to be changed, that were really highlighted through all this different things that we've been living, since 2017 till now, in terms of government, in terms of communities, in terms of individuals and families. We really have to, each one of us, starting with myself and everyone involved, really think if what we've been doing uh, is according to what we're supposed to be doing, and if not, then make change and transform what we are and how we do things. And that's pretty much, I recognize the hardships, but I also can tell you I've learned a lot. This staycation, I've been learning so many different things. So I've been able to develop uh, new abilities and learn different things at work, different things about myself. So that also happened, and we cannot deny that either. We wouldn't, wouldn't be we would see only we can only see the thorns on the rose bush. You have to appreciate the roses, but do not deny the thorns. They're there as well. They're part of the plant. They're part of the bush. So just recognize them, so not to get uh, struck on your fingers.
I, that's good. That's good. Marla, can you tell me again about your book and then how to start a Tears chapter of their own, and maybe that how to contact you if they have questions? Because I just still believe that because they could email one of us about if they're having a hard time with loss of a baby or loss of an adult child, or even how to take a pause and discover your gifts and go in a new direction. Can you tell them how to get a hold of you and about the book
Sure.
and
Tears, you can find it in the tearsfoundation.org. And
right?
the email for the foundation in my chapter is Puerto Rico chapter. I'll write it in the chat so you have it available. Puerto Rico chapter at um, the tearsfoundation.org.
Thank you so much. And how do
That
they
way
go?
you
Your
can
book,
reach me.
Amazon.
We also have a Facebook page, Puerto Rico chapter, the Tears Foundation the Tears Foundation as well. And you can reach me through there. I'm the one that answers either the email or the Facebook page. So that's a way you can get a hold of me.
And Amazon for the book, and then
Amazon.com. The name of the book is in Spanish, Hasta luego,
gotta do
pequeñín.
this at the end here. I'm a Marla will agree to this because she knows me this much. I am computer challenged and I don't do electronics. But I say I turn this off. I hope I do. If you're thinking about someone today that you haven't thought about for a long time, then maybe the Holy Spirit's saying, write a note, send a letter. Maybe he's saying they're carrying a cross today. Say a little prayer. We kind of have we have to look at life with the eyes of our heart and see through the eyes of Jesus out of our eyes so that we know that we never want to be too busy to care. And we always want to never look at someone else and say, why are they the way they are? They've been on a journey. You may be on one too. Some of their journey takes them on down the valley. Some are up the mountaintop, or some they're just putting on a mask and you think they're on the mountain and they're really suffering greatly. Take a pause, look in their eyes and see. Watch this show again, send it to a friend, and get some tips on how to help someone that's carrying a cross. Even Jesus himself had to have someone take the other side. Barnabas carried the cross with Jesus. Jesus fell 3 times. Don't be ashamed if you're in a trial. The trial is what makes us real. Don't you think, Marla? Before that, we go over, we're good. A trial makes the tears come out in such a way that we can't just fake it. Do we make it? Because some you just can't. You just can't. You have to be yourself. God understands the most, but there are people who have carried a cross as well, like Marla and I, and they understand too. Not exactly. They haven't gone down that same valley, but they understand enough to be there and to care. So my name is Ellen Mongan. It's Wow Mom. Thank you for joining us, Marla.
Thank you, Ellen, for inviting me.
I always enjoy it. No birds today. And I want to say you can reach me at wowellen@yahoo.com. See, I got it right. And I also lessened my email so you can get a hold of me. My website is www.ellenmongan.com. Join us again. And Marla, one day again, we get on Miscarriage Matters. We try to get this show on.
Yeah.
we say hi. And they love us there. And we enjoyed you so much. Thanks for all the wisdom. I check with you again. Next time, come on, and Jane Ann meet you again too. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now give me a tip, because I'm going to do this. This is not going to be cut for the show. We're going to go stop, right?